Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. This is Allison here with KRISE Systems. Thank you for joining us for our webinar on our EASYProcess Gallery, JDE low-code development taken to the next level. It will be presented by our director, Grant Smith, and Ben Terrell will be helping us with a demonstration. And with that, I'll pass it along to Grant. Oh, I'm sorry. If you have any questions, the question and answer feature is at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to utilize that throughout the presentation, and we'll get your questions answered towards the end. Go ahead, Grant.
Thanks, Allison, and good morning and good afternoon to everyone here. Let's talk immediately and about what we're covering. Ben is going to join us near to the end to do some more demonstrations. I'm going to start this off. So what are we covering today? First off is the gallery mission. What is it, and what do we think it can do for JD Edwards shops? What's in gallery? And then we're going to do a couple demonstrations. We're going to leverage this live. So we all got our fingers crossed, just like every live demonstration. Then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. But I think this quote surmises the best I can what gallery is about. We wanted to be able to help the JDE community work together to do digital transformation, to create custom applications, to share and share alike. And the genesis of this is we've been in business for 16 years, mainly working with JD Edwards shops, and we hear this a lot. We run JD Edwards and we have a very unique problem. We hear it a lot. And a lot of the times, 20 to 30 to 40 to 70% of this problem is something we've already solved before, sometimes up to 100% of the problem. But the issue is for developers at these JDE shops, a lot of the time they're staring into the abyss. And this happens a lot with developers. You get assigned a project and then you're staring at this blank wall thinking, if I could just figure out a starting point for this, my life would be geometrically easier. And that's how we started pulling the ideas together for Gallery. And just as a further example, here is this company, right? And this blue dot is their idea for a custom app, whether it's just to keep up with their competition or innovate or make it easier to do business with or make it easier to do reporting, anything. And they bought EASYProcess to help solve that problem, right? Here are other JDE shops all over the country, all over the world for that matter. What if this guy's problem was the same as this guy's problem? What if we could connect everyone who uses EASYProcess and JD Edwards together so these problems could be openly shared in a community, in a centralized location? And as people develop new things, they could share their ideas as well. We all know they're already pre-configured to JD Edwards, so it just gets easier and easier. And as the portfolio grows, the sharing amongst everyone can grow. And it can build unto itself where people have more and more ideas, and more of the problems that are getting solved are getting more and more complex and more the innovation part of Edwards than just keeping up. So that's how we started this, as a place where everyone can share their ideas. And when we get to that, when we talk about this, I have as a triangle here of the problems that IT faces when trying to add value in their organization. And so we started the base, problems common to JD Edwards. It has it's a back office system. It doesn't allow a lot of web applications to be built for customers and suppliers, things that you already know about. And then as we go up the triangle, there's problems that are unique to your specific industry or your industry vertical. You're running JD Edwards in real estate instead of manufacturing, or you're running just the financials, just some things that are just specific to you. And then problems that are unique to your company, the way you take orders, how you do business is slightly different than how JD Edwards does it. So you're writing custom applications to accommodate that, to give yourself competitive advantage, to the parts where it's just part of our company has a unique issue, all the way down to, it's just a little tiny slice of our organization that has unique issues, but they all need to be addressed, right? And we talk about the base of this triangle is just, keeping up with competition. And then, the top part is where we're innovating, where we're solving problems in a really unique way. And we think EASYProcess, at its start, and EASYProcess isn't relatively new, but the EASYProcess Gallery is, where if we could have a baseline of shared applications that are common to JD Edwards and common to industries, that we could automatically put out and make available to people, right? And you just need to focus on innovating to the point in which, as this grows and matures, we can even take care of that part of the triangle as well. So you're always starting with something. You're never starting with a blank slate. And that is the point of this. Think of, Stack Overflow. There are other ways developers communicate and try and solve problems together. We're doing it in a way that is built in our low-code platform and already pre-configured to run against JD Edwards. So what is in the EASYProcess Gallery today? Like I said, Gallery is relatively new. It's only a few months old, but we still have a lot that's already started. So let's talk about just a couple different things to talk about. First is completed applications. So we already have a CRM in there. We already have an integrated payments application in there. Non-stock PO requisitioning. If some of these are problems that are percolating in your head, web-based applications to do these things. So vendor onboarding, so you can get your vendors to onboard themselves. PO planning for suppliers. How can I plan my purchase orders with my suppliers together? How can we collaborate better? AP automation is already built in. All of these are source included. All of these can be manipulated. So this CRM might only be a 70% of what you want, but it's 70%. You're only building the final parts. And from a components perspective, this is just some of the highlights. I didn't put all of them together, but OCR with PDF mapping. And we had a customer who said OCR for us was going to be a $140,000 expense. It's free here, right? Uploading Excel spreadsheets from emails, creating charts, workflow examples, event notification examples, batch jobs are all already stored in here. And there's also loads of tutorials in here as well. Now, we still have full e-learning available, but this is a secondary place where you can start to look and see, how do I do this? How do other people do this? And we have vetted the code and we know it's good. So when you're downloading and playing with it, you're building a streamlined application. And that's just what's in there today. More content is being added every single week. So it is a moving target, and it's a continually growing project. As we add more things like proof of concepts and problems we solve, and customers add things as well. And yes, customers can add things. And here's just a short list of what some of the customers that have already submitted components and tutorials and applications for the EASYProcess Gallery. So why? Why are we doing this? Why are companies doing this? Why do they want to help? First piece is just to improve collaboration. And this is a quote below from one of our customers. And she says, every time I get a new project, the first place I go to look is Gallery. I go to see is there a starting point for me? Is there a place where I can jumpstart what I'm doing instead of having to build it from scratch? And the side quote on that is, if there's not, I'm going to build it and submit it to Gallery, and we'll get to that in a second. But if we can improve collaboration in this tight-knit community, we can all solve a lot of problems very quickly. And that's that second point, is I want to speed up development on my next project. Every time I do a project, I don't want to start from zero. Can I start somewhere? Can I start as a point? But one of the main reasons people are loving this and customers are submitting is we lower their renewal fees. So everything that gets submitted and approved and applied to the gallery actually lowers your fees for the following year. Because we want people to participate in this, and we're willing to give you guys discounts to make it grow, to have it grow further. And so improving collaboration is an altruistic value. Speeding up development is certainly a personal thing to let you guys do more faster. But saving your company money, combining all three of those things, we think Gallery has a tremendous value proposition for anyone using EasyProcess. And let's get to that next point is, why should I use EasyProcess? Why should I use a low-code platform for JD Edwards? Now let's talk about, from an architectural perspective, what we bring to the table when you sign up, or when you sign up for our community edition and we hook up our platform to your instance of JD Edwards. So we run against JD Edwards, but we run against any enterprise application. So in this bottom part, we talk about enterprise applications and data and logic and APIs, unstructured data, identity management. And when you install EasyProcess, we connect to all of that. We don't want you to replicate anything. And that's kind of the point of this, is when you're doing digital transformation, you cannot starve the core of data. And if your core is JD Edwards, or if your core is JD Edwards and another system, you want to be able to access it from multiple entry points. And you want data to flow freely from your custom systems to your core, and from your core to your custom systems. So we want to keep that single point of truth as is right there. But let's just take this and hone it in a little further. If you're running JD Edwards, what do we connect to immediately? So the data dictionary, so we have access to all the tables. We can connect to your business functions, BSSV. We connect to Orchestrator for the people who are running Orchestrator. But we also do all the little tiny things, the interesting parts of JD Edwards that are unique to JD Edwards, like named event rules, status code translations, Julian date conversions, media objects, UDCs, and Z files. We can connect to all of that. So all of that richness and all of that goodness that is JD Edwards, we can connect to that all immediately. And what does EasyProcess have sort of on top of that? Well, if you're building custom systems, and this is your first time, entering a world that isn't JDE tools, right? You need DevOps, and we have it. We have DevOps all built in. Project management, task tracking, project assignment, source control, production monitoring, all of that is already pre-built into the system. We even have dashboards for management to check on the health of every single project you have. We trap all the events, so we know where everything is at any one point in time. And that's important, especially if you're an audited company or a publicly traded organization with Sarbanes-Oxley requirements. You need to know who made a change to what application and when. We have that all available in reports immediately. And not only that, but production monitoring I've developed this application, who's using it, when, where are they stopping? This supports the DevOps cycle of iterative development of, this isn't working right here and we know why, and now we're going to change it to make it better. So when you're ready and you're developing an application, we have a couple of main components. We have a logic engine, a workflow engine, a data modeler, because you can create your own tables in EasyProcess, as well as access the ones in Oracle. And then our UI UX designer. All of this is drag and drop. All of it. And I'm going to show it to you in a few minutes because I'm going to do the demonstration. But what's nice about it is they're all abstracted from one another. So I can make changes to the logic engine or the workflow engine without affecting the UI and UX. A great example being, I have a UI, I have a mobile app that's using business functions now, but I want to change it to Orchestrator. Well, I can make a change in the logic engine without changing this, and it will automatically work. And having that kind of abstraction, that end-tier architecture, makes rapid development and rapid change that much smoother. Then we have our community gallery, which we talked about earlier, and a set of pre-built solutions as well. So this platform has a lot of robustness built in. Anything you build in EasyProcess can be deployed as a web, mobile, or native application, as SOAP or REST services, or as a batch job. So let's go back to the bottom. We have access to all of the goodness that is inside JD Edwards. And everything you do in EasyProcess has no code. So I am dragging and dropping this world. It's a great quote from one of our customers. although my team has no development skills, they understand the Oracle tables, and really they understand JD Edwards in the business process. So EASYProcess was a natural fit. They don't need to have Ajax, HTML, CGI, frameworks, JavaScript, Java, Swift to do their development. They just need EASYProcess and access to the files that they want to do. So, you know, if you're a development shop with just a few developers or none, or a couple that just need help, EASYProcess can give you all of the access to JD Edwards without doing massive integration projects, and can develop the screens for you without having to know all the front end technologies. And that's a great, great value proposition. So let's talk about our gallery demonstration. You know, everything starts when you get a new project. And in this world, this is what we need. We need an application to look up customers and see their orders, and we need it yesterday. So let's take that as our example. And everything in our world, and I can assume you can see my my email now. Since we have DevOps all built in, everything in a developer's world starts with an email, starts with a notification, and mine's right here. So it says here, I have a task called customer order inquiry. So I've been submitted a task, right? The application name is Gallery Webinar, and the job is an app which allows anyone to search for a customer and find their orders. And in here are all the descriptions that were created when they created the task for me. You can put as much or as little as you want in here. So we received a request for sales and field service to create an application. Here are the tables you need to query. For all of it, here's what we want you displayed. Must be able to run on all form factors. And here is a little design. So if you design things on whiteboards or the back of napkins, you can put that into the request as well. So the developer has a pretty good idea of what he needs to do immediately. So I've gotten this task, so it's time for me to sign in. So I'm gonna open up a browser. Everything you do in EASYProcess is browser-based. And I'm gonna log in to our platform. We use SAML for all our logins. You don't have to, but we find it much easier to maintain going forward. So here we are. This is your first look inside EASYProcess. Let me kind of wander you around. So these are all the applications we have. You can see the application here was created, Gallery Webinar. There's nothing inside of it because I've not built anything. Here are all the other applications that I've built over time. This is what's new. We're constantly changing and innovating the platform. And you can look and see these are the things that we've added just in the last week. And if you want to view all, you can just hit that button and do that. But what I want to do is I want to see if anyone has given me a starting point. So I'm going to go over here, and this is our lab. And I could do it right here as well if I wanted to. I will. So this is the lab and the gallery. There's two unique things to this. First is the gallery, and the gallery is all of the things that we have submitted today. You can see who submitted it, if it's from us or it's from a customer. So there's this one submitted from KRise. It's a bar chart. This is a pricing adjustment detail in JD Edwards. Here's a batch job that was submitted by Front Door Home. All right. And the second part is a workbench. And the workbench is a sandbox. It's a place for you to develop applications. It's a place for you to look at applications that are in the gallery already. So I'm going to go down and see if there's anything here. So I'm going to load up the next 12. Going, these are tutorials. This is what I'm looking for. So Ajax enabled customer information web page. This is interesting. So I hit info. So, well, wait a minute, this is kind of exactly what I'm looking for. I want to be able to enter the customer number and see the details. Now it doesn't have orders, but at least it gives me a starting point. So what I can do now is hit install. And it's going to add it to the lab workbench for me. Oh, I might have to. One thing is worth doing, as you can see, I've tested this before, is going to the workbench and seeing that this already exists. And I can reset this. And it will empty it out for me. And we'll do the same thing again. So the Workbench keeps everything that you're working on. And it will tell you if there's something with a similar naming convention, which is what it just did. So I'm going to add this to Lab Workbench. All right, looks like it's there. I hit close, it opens the Workbench for me. This is the info I looked at already, and here's the actual application. So I click on this. This is our designer, but before we get into that, let's just see if this is something I want to look at. So I'm going to go to phone view. It's going to ask me to log in. All right, so here's the application. So this is already connected to Edwards, and if you had this, it would be connected to your Edwards as well. So I can put in a customer number, and it brings in the information for me. So put in another customer number, and it brings in that information. So this is kind of what I'm looking for. It's a good start, if nothing else. The desktop view would show it just as in a desktop. But there's a couple things worth noting, right? It's doing a query, and we know that, but it's doing a query once it gets the customer number and the search button is hit. So let's look at the canvas and talk about that. So here are all the fields that are displayed in the results, and here is the search button. So we know it does a query, and we know the query is launched by the search button. So let's look. Where we store queries is down here in data sources. So I click on that, and I can say, here's the query. And I want to show this to you to say that all of this can be manipulated. And you can look and see how this is actually being done. So I'm going to click on the customer query. This is our services center. So we have about 400 services. The average developer, and Ben can tell you this when he gets on, uses about, I don't know, 2 or 3 in a given day. But we have a lot of hyper-specific ones, so there's a lot out there. So I went to the Inquire, and I said, let's check my connection instance. It's JD Edwards. Let's look at the tables. Now you should recognize this, FO116 and FO101. There's an inner join, so we've joined these together. And what column is the key? ABAN8, I'm sure you know that. And the value, this is important, because the value is customer number, which comes from input. These are all the fields that are on the screen. Let's go back to this. These are all the fields that are on the screen. This is customer number, because that's where I'm entering the customer number. So if I go back here to say the value of this key is the customer number, and the results are all down here. The name, address, city, state, and zip, right? So that's the query, and the query is driven when the value of the field customer number has something inside of it, and then the button gets hit. So what happens when the button gets hit? Let's talk about that too. Two things happen. First thing, it says run data source, and run data source means run that query. Right, and the data source ID is the data sources in the web part, which is get customer. If you remember, that was what the query was called. And the second part is, if you saw the screen never actually refreshed, is because we Ajax enabled it. And to do that, we just Ajax enable the control, which is actually the list itself. You see, this is called result. If I come back here, that's the name of the table. So there's a couple things I want to do though, because you look at this and alpha name and customer number and postal code, I just want to change those up. So I go back to the canvas and I can hit here and just look up in commonly used items. I can search for all of the things, all the attributes of this. I look up title. I can just say customer. And in address line 1, I just want to put it to say address. And in postal code, I just want it to say zip code. Now, if I wanted to add new fields to this, I certainly could. I would just add it to the results. I don't need to today. I'll go back to phone view, and now I've got customer, I got address, I have zip code. So I've changed the titles of that. So now that I've done this, and I feel pretty comfortable about it, I'm going to take it and move it to the application where I'm going to finish the work that has all the DevOps inside of it. And to do that, I go to copy objects. So I want to copy this to where gallery webinar and what project it's called, customer order inquiry. And I copy this. It says all objects are copied. Now, as you saw, the Workbench will keep everything here until I reset it. I'm not going to right now. But now I want to go into the IDE application. Actually, I can go straight to gallery webinar. So this is the application we built that I showed you earlier. And here's everything I can do. Add users, management, security, authorizations, projects. I can look up everything that's going on with the jobs and the tasks. But really, I want to go to developer workbench and finish this. So I'm going to look up my project. And there it is. There's the page that I had. And what I need to do to finish it is to show the orders. So I'm going to go to this master table and actually add one more row. And then what I need to do next is actually create a query to show the orders. So I'm going to go to data sources and I'm going to add a new data source. I'm going to call this get orders. So I've created this and now I need to tell it what to do. So I'm going to open this up. And this is going to be an inquire as well. So I pull the inquire service onto the screen and it allows me to name it. Now you can name this whatever you want, whatever naming convention makes sense to you. Some people just put the table names, some people put a logical expression. Anything you do that allows the other developers who are on your team to kind of know what you're doing before they go and dig into it. So I wire this up and I said, what's my connection instance? Say it's JD Edwards. And what is the table name? So this button here is actually our query builder. So I click on that and that brings me to JD Edwards. Here are all the JDE tables. So I can search here and say, if you know where the orders are, it's F4211. And there that is, double click. And I also need to have add district master. And I now need to bind them together. So if you don't know this, it's important. The key for F4211 is SDAN8. And I'm going to drag that over to ABAN8. So now they are bound and keyed together. Hit save and close, and I've created the query. So now I'm going to create a key, and the key is ABAN8. And the value, if you remember, the value of the first one was from an input on the screen. And that's not going to change here because we're doing this, and we're only going to hit the search button once. And all I need to do now is put the results in. So I click on results and go to recommended values, and it's going to show me the columns in the table, and there is a ton. So if I don't want to just search for them individually, I can drag this over, and it's going to bring me the entire list. And it's searchable as well, and I'll do a search on one. The first thing I need is the order number, and I need the order type. And the next one I need is order date. So if I actually search on here, you can see order date is SDTRDJ. There's the order date. And I need the description, which is SDD SC1. And I also need the price, which is SDU P. There we go, unit price. So now I've done that. If I hit add nodes, it will add the results for me automatically. So now I've done that query. I can close this out. I can close this out. And now we need to bind the query to the page. And to do that, I want to create a list. And to do that, we go into our controls. And we add, I want to add a table, we're going to add a list. And I'm going to call this list get orders. And we need to remember this because we have to Ajax enable it shortly. So I hit save and close. I'll scroll down. This needs to be 3 columns for me. And now I can go back to my data sources and start to map this all out. So here's get orders. This will show me all the results. So the order number I'll put up here, and the order date I'm going to put next, and the order type I'm going to put below it. And that I'm going to put the description, and then I'm going to hit the unit price. All right, now I need to take this table and bind it to the query. And by doing that, I just say, this table is from get orders, and the data source says get orders result. And I click on save close, and now we've bound everything together. Now we need to do one last thing. Is when I hit the search button, it needs to know this is here. So I hit the search button, and I need to run the data source. So I'm going to add a new data source, and it's going to tell me here are all the data sources in the web part, and ours is get orders. So I'm done with that. And now I need to do the Ajax enablement as well. So there's one more control, and if you remember, our table name was get orders, or our list name, I'm sorry, was get orders. So I'm going to put get orders in here. So we're done. If this all works out. So now I can test it. I'm going to go to, I can go to phone view if you want. And here's what we've built so far. One more thing we want to do. Let's go to Canvas and let's get rid of these headers. These are pretty self-explanatory. I don't think it's necessary to have. So let's go back to phone view. And I'm going to put in a query, or a customer number, I should say, and hit search. And there are the orders. But this is raw data from Edwards, as you can see. So we want to manipulate this to make sure it's readable by anybody. There's a couple things we need to do. Here's the date, and here's the order type, and here's the amount. So let's work on all 3 of those. The first thing we'll do is go to the date. And I'm going to hit a value transformation. I want to convert this from a JDE date. And I'm going to hit add. Let's save and close. And let's just test it. So now we have actual dates. So I'll do the next 2 in front of you together. So for standard price, we actually have to create an expression for this. Now, if you go to JDE tables, you know this is 4 decimal places. So if I go back to get orders, change one thing. If I go back to get orders, what I'm going to do is create an expression in the results. So I'm going to go down to the results, and if you remember, the final result was the price. So I'm going to copy this column name, and I'm going to make an expression that says open parentheses, the column name divided by 10,000. Okay, so I'm done with that. And the other thing I need to do for this is to change the format. So if I go back to search and I hit format, you'll see format comes up. And now I can make it a currency as well. And the last thing I need to do is do another value transformation for the order type. So I'm going to hit this and say, I want you to convert this to a JDE UDC description. And the description, also in JDE tables, is 00 DT. If I add that, I hit save and close. Let's go back to desktop view. I put in 4343 and hit search. You can see here's the order number. It's a sales order, and this is the price, properly designed. So if I go to another one, there it is again. These are sales quotes, not sales orders. So now you can tell the difference immediately in all the prices. And if I go to phone view, right, you'll see it's something similar. There we go. So I'm pretty comfortable with this. I feel like I've done our part here. So I've created a search, found the customer name, found all their orders, and now I'm done. So what I want to do now is actually push this to production. So I'm going to close this out. Now I'm in my developer workbench. I can view project tasks. I say, you know what? This is done. This is now ready for testing. I close this out. Now, in our DevOps world, you can have developers promote, you can have managers promote, you can have DevOps people promote. In this world, in my one demo, I'm doing it by myself. So I'm going to promote this to QA. And you can see this will move out. So now I need to show it in QA here. You see now I'm in QA, view my project tasks. Testing is over. And now I can promote one more time. So now it's been promoted. So what I need to do now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, what about user IDs and passwords and logins and all that stuff? That's what I do next. So I'm going to go from development and I'm going to switch to production. It's probably going to ask me to sign in again. So now I'm actually in the production system. So I'm going to go to authorization. I'm going to create an authorization for this application. The authorization is going to be sales rep. The description is going to be sales rep. Now I'm going to go to manage users, and I actually have a sales rep in here, and his name is Edward Eichner. I'm going to assign an authorization to him as a sales rep. Now I'm going to go back to Gallery Webinar and do a default menu page for him. So if I go to default pages and say, I want the home page for anyone with the authorization level of a sales rep to see this, which is what we built. I'm going to hit add. Now I go back and I'm going to open up the app and I'm going to sign in as Edward Eichner. And now he has his application. And if I hit Control-Shift-J and hit refresh again, there's the application running on a phone. So in about 15 minutes, I've taken an application from Gallery, manipulated it a little bit, I added to it, I used value transformations, I used date changes, integrated right to the database and created an application that will run on a desktop, on a mobile device, and in an iPad. And I've pushed it through production safely. So my part here is done. Ben's up. He's going to show you a few other things that we have in the gallery just to give you some more examples. So Ben, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, I'm going to hit stop share.
Okay, so Grant showed a lot of taking a building block from this gallery and turning it, like fine tuning it to his own application. I'm going to go through a few other objects in the gallery and kind of give you an idea of some of the other building blocks that we have. So the first thing that I'm going to show is this bar chart item here. So I'm going to install that to my lab workbench. Close out of that, and it's in my workbench now. It has the documentation, so we can look through that as well. Shows the configuration information, which I'll get into later. But right here is the web page, so we'll go ahead and click on that and go into it. And we're greeted with this simple web page. It just has a customer selector and the actual bar chart itself. So if we click on desktop view, we can take a look at what that looks like. So we have our customer selector. Choose this one. Gives us all of the items, all the products that this customer has and the number that they've ordered. So we can click on another one to see another graph. But yeah, this is essentially the bar graph application, and I can kind of go into it and see how you could potentially take the resources here and turn them into your own application. So if we go into the data source, it's doing a simple customers query, and then it's doing a simple items query. And then this JSON here is the configuration for the bar chart itself. So we could go into here. Has a link at the top that actually links to documentation for creating the chart. So that's useful if you wanted to see how all of this is structured. But then we also have the current configuration for the chart that's on the screen. So we have a working example here to go off of as well. So yeah, some important things to note, like the labels are taking all of the product names, comma separated. The data sets are taking, the count of each item and the color of each bar, things like that. So it's very easy to go in here and insert your own information and create a graph that's tuned to your data. So that right there is the bar chart. Yeah, and that JSON that I just viewed, it goes into this configuration right here. It's taking it from the data source, and it's going right into the bar chart and creating that. So that's the bar chart object. So I'll go ahead and clear my lab. And the next one that I'm going to show is this OCR template. If you need any sort of OCR to scan a PDF. One moment. Let me log out, log back in. Go into the lab. Yeah, so I'll click install on here. Essentially what this lab item would do is take a simple PDF, which is included in the collection of objects, and then it'll use a method to scan that PDF, and then it'll output it on some web page here. So I'll add all these to my workbench. Go ahead and close that out. And all of the objects have gone to my workbench, so we can read the documentation as well and see the sample output, what goes into the scanning method. But I'll just go straight into the web page so you can see it working. We'll click on desktop view, log in. Oh, I need to log in as my user. I think so. Or yeah, let's try this user. Yeah, so we're greeted with this scan page, so we'll scan PDF. And it took the information from the PDF that we downloaded. And I can show you that PDF because it came into our Workbench as well. I will download it and view it. And this is the PDF that the process is scanning and submitting on our screen. So we have a couple lines on the first page here. If we scroll down, we got a couple lines on the second page. We have our total 554.70. So if we go back to our example, you can see it did scan the information from that invoice and printed it on the screen. And this one is a little more in depth, but has a pretty basic functionality. You click this scan PDF button. As Grant mentioned before, run data source is a service that's going to call a data source on the page. So if we go back to the page, click on data sources, then we have this get PDF data source here. And then it uses the scan PDF method, which is also included in this object collection. And that'll actually take our PDF there and scan it, and then we'll get the information and it'll print on the screen. So it's very easy to modify this. You could upload your own invoice PDF. You could adjust the template so that it's actually scanning meaningful information from that PDF. Here's the template right here. You can specify pages, rows, columns for all of the fields on that PDF. So that's another example of something that you could download to your lab and customize to your application. And the last thing that I'm going to show is an application template. It's going to be the CRM application right here, and I'll click info so you can see the documentation. And here's some examples of what this web page looks like, or this application template looks like. And instead of installing it here, because it'll take a couple of minutes, I installed it previously. So here I am inside of the application. I've already defined some users and authorizations that can go into this application and view it. So I'll go ahead and do that. Just open up the app. And here I am. I'm greeted with a list of customers, and they all have some actions next to them. So we could open a map that views the location of the address of this company. As you can see here, yeah, this one's in Chicago, so it'll show up in Chicago. So that's a Google Maps integration right there. You can edit the address, which will go straight into JDE. So I'll throw something here just to show you the change in JDE as well. And we'll go ahead and update. And just to go down the list of other functionalities, we can view the orders for a particular customer. So it shows all the order numbers. And we click on one, we can see all the order lines. And if we go back to our home screen again, we also have this view orders by month, which gives us a bar chart. And this was constructed using the same resources as that bar chart object that I showed earlier. It just customized to show the orders for these particular customers. We can show you another one here to show you a little different chart. Yeah, so we also have Who's Who, which is pulling from JDE as well. And we can go in and add other contacts. We can edit contacts as well. And I'll do this as well. I'll throw something at the end of this title here and click edit. And it shows up here as well. We can also add some notes to these customers as well. So go back to the home screen. We got a couple more objects just to look at. If the customer has quotes, this quotes icon will show up, and you can see those quotes right here. If it has any open invoices, this accounts receivable icon will show up. and you can see the totals, the unpaid amounts. And then we also have Google Drive support for documents. So you could go in here to the documents page, and you can view PDFs right in the application. And these are pulled right from Google Docs.
And this will run on a mobile device too, right?
Right, yeah. So let me turn that into a mobile view, and yeah, there you go. So here it is. Here's how it would look on a mobile device. So we can search on it. We can adjust customers. Anything that we need to do is right here on mobile as well.
It's funny. My demo was like look up customers and find orders, and what you showed is that on steroids.
Right.
So
this has
something to be said for saying, well, is this the end of the project, or should we put more in and see if there's actually stuff that has more than just what I did? But well, this is great. Thanks, Ben.
Yep, thank you.
So if you unshare, I'll share my screen and kind of wrap this where we were. So we talk about low code. Who else talks about low code? Right? It is none other than JD Edwards. They want you to be using low code applications. They know most JD Edwards shops don't have tons of developers, but there are tons of applications that need to get built. There are more people submitting application requests than there are people who can develop the applications. So we need to speed this up. And if we could speed this up and share the applications you have, I think that's where we want to get to, is having a community of people sharing applications, saving money, doing everything that they want to do, and really as a community getting closer together. Not only does JD Edwards want you to try this, we want you to try it. We have a full community edition that gives you access to all the gallery applications, access to the entire platform, to the point where you can go live, and we will even connect it to your instance of JD Edwards. But if you don't have time for that, and we understand that some people are better at maintaining than building, right? What else can you do? You can challenge us. You can say, hey, we have an idea for this application. We want to see if it can be done. And if it's a couple day effort, we'll do it for free. I mean, we're not going to rewrite order entry, right? But if you have something that, this is a problem, it's been stuck with us for a while, we need help, we're here to help. So with that said, I'm going to open it up to Q&A. And Allison unfortunately had to go, but there are some questions. And first question is, can we run an application built in EASYProcess directly from a JDE E1 page instead of connecting to other software? You can. So the answer to that question is yes, you can do just that. We can run EASYProcess inside of JD Edwards. As a frame, as a page itself, from a menu, it all can be done. So the next question, how do gallery objects access JDE data? Okay, BSFNs, BSSVs, Orchestrator, it's all of them. So if you're not using Orchestrator, we use BSFNs for most of them, or direct data access. If you are, changing it is a breeze because it's just a service. It's a BSFN service versus a JDE Orchestrator REST service. So you can create the page, run it on BSFNs for now, and when you're ready to do Orchestrator, the change will take just a few minutes. Okay, next question. How long does it take to learn EASYProcess? Well, I have an accounting degree, so I've never been able to, I've never programmed in my life. So I and you watched me do this demonstration, so it's not terribly difficult, but Ben is probably a better person to answer that question since Ben's relatively new here. What are your thoughts, Ben, on how long does it take to learn EASYProcess?
Yeah, it's all drag and drop, and it really, the only thing that you have to learn is the structure of how everything's laid out. Um, it's very easy to get into it. Um, there being no code involved. So
Can EasyProcess get an honor security from JDE? Ben, I think that's true, isn't it?
what was the question? I'm sorry.
Can EasyProcess leverage the JDE security tables?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And how many items can a company submit to Gallery? Well, that's an ambitious question. You can submit as many as you like. How many we approve is another story, but each one will actually lower your fees for the following year. We'd like to see that if someone wants to do more. What does EasyProcess cost? That's a question best served for our website. So I will escape out of this and pull up our browser. I assume you still see my screen. All of our pricing is published, all of it. It's all right here. So applications are based on named users. It's all capacity driven. So our pricing includes all the hosting in the cloud, all the support you need, and it starts as low as $11 per month per user. So at a minimum, you can get in for less than $2,000 a year, have access to everything we do. And as you add more users, as you add more applications, you pay as you go. So it's very easy to get started. It's very inexpensive to get started. It's not a $175,000 commitment up front. You can start as low as you like and build up as you go forward. So we keep that in mind. From if I want to learn this, you're not having to go to senior management to get 6 figures just to get started. You can learn this very easily and free. And like I said, here's the free edition, and here is the, if you want to sign up, that's the web page for that. So one question asked, what do you mean user? Developer or anyone who runs the process? That's a great question. What I mean by user, and I should be more clear when I say that, is someone who's using the application. It's licensed for unlimited developers, unlimited people in DevOps and IT. So if you have one developer and you want to get 10 more up, that's not going to change your price. It's only the people who are using the application. So that's where we stand. And it's not just JDE users, it's any user. So if you have customers who want to use this, or suppliers or friends and family, you can do it too. It doesn't necessarily mean JDE, but it does require at least one JDE user. That's how we access everything in. But if you have an application that people need to use and they don't log into JD Edwards a lot, you can write it here and really avoid a lot of the fees that JDE would require for you to add 20, 30, 40 users to the JD Edwards system. So if we have 40 users, exactly. So let's go look. So if you have a single app and 40 users, it's $9.60 a month per user. And that will build annually and includes all the hosting fees and support. I hope that answers your question. Just use a calculator and kind of extrapolate from there. So that's all the questions we have right now, and it's come to the top of the hour. If you have more questions, there's my email address, there's my cell phone, as we're all still working from home these days. Feel free to reach out. If you want to give it a try, go to our website and fill out the form. We are happy to accommodate. And I want to thank you for spending the time with us. And I thank Ben for doing the demonstrations as well. Everybody stay safe and have a great day.